Hello and welcome to Black Money Daily, economic news from our point of view. We release a podcast every weekday at lunchtime, so don't forget to subscribe. And now, here's the news. President-elect Biden and his team are moving fast, and the first item they're focused on is the coronavirus. On Monday, Biden announced the members of his coronavirus task force that will develop a blueprint for fighting the pandemic. It includes doctors and scientists who have served in previous administrations, many of them experts in public health, vaccines, and infectious diseases. Notable among the members is Rick Bright, a vaccine expert and former head of the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. He had filed a whistleblower complaint alleging he was reassigned to a lesser job because he resisted political pressure to allow widespread use of hydroxychloroquine, a malaria drug pushed by President Trump as a COVID-19 treatment. Public health officials warned that the nation is entering the worst stretch yet for COVID-19 as winter sets in and the holiday season approaches, increasing the risk of rapid transmission as Americans travel, shop, and celebrate with loved ones. Some believe we could see another 100,000 deaths by January. Biden pledged during the campaign to make testing free and widely available, to hire thousands of health workers to help implement contact tracing programs, and to instruct the Center for Disease Control and Prevention to provide clear, expert-informed guidelines, among other proposals. Pfizer and BioNTech announced Monday that their coronavirus vaccine was more than 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 among those without evidence of prior infection. Roughly 42% of the trial's global participants had racially and ethnically diverse backgrounds, Pfizer and BioNTech said, adding that there haven't been any serious safety concerns reported yet. The announcement comes as drug makers and research centers scramble to deliver a safe and effective vaccine to help bring an end to the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. stock futures skyrocketed as investors cheered the news. Airline, cruise, and movie company stocks jumped in trading. Shares of Zoom and other stay-at-home stocks fell sharply on Monday morning as names benefiting from people staying at home. Traders had piled into stocks such as Zoom, Amazon, Netflix, and Shopify this year as the pandemic raged on and kept most people from leaving their homes. As Biden wins, business groups turn focus to coronavirus relief. Business groups on Saturday pledged to work with the president-elect and vice president-elect to help lift the U.S. economy out of the coronavirus-induced recession that began in February. The National Association of Manufacturers President and CEO Jay Timmons cautioned in a statement on Saturday against making any drastic policy overhauls as the economy heals. Jay Timmons said, "Our focus at the National Association of Manufacturers has always been on policy, not politics, personality, or process. Many other groups are laser focused on federal aid." The U.S. Chamber of Commerce CEO Thomas Donahue congratulated Biden and Harris before adding that the nation needs more coronavirus relief. Donahue said, American small businesses cannot afford for Congress to wait another 3 months to act. We stand ready to help our leaders get this much needed legislation passed as quickly as possible. Many business leaders are encouraged by the prospect of a divided government after Wall Street had initially predicted a so-called blue wave, which would have meant that Democrats picked up the presidency and controlled both chambers of commerce. Instead, many expect Democrats' majority to shrink in the House and Republicans to retain control of the Senate, though there are still races that have yet to be called. This scenario would make it less likely that the Biden-Harris administration would be able to drive through policies that could impact businesses like tax hikes or increased regulation without pushback from Republicans. Today's show is sponsored by the 10K Project, and the Black Family Wealth Challenge has begun. It includes a 7-week masterclass about a little-known wealth-building tool, resources, and more. To learn more and to join the challenge, visit familywealthchallenge.black. That's familywealthchallenge.black. If we asked you who won the election, you would say Biden, right? Well, TechCrunch points out that the gig economy, cannabis, and car data tech are also big winners of the 2020 election. The US is settling in for some new form of national gridlock, but state and local propositions are busy defining how tech businesses will be allowed to work legally in the United States. Policies on topics as broad as customer usage and employment, or as narrow as drug chemicals, got the vote across the country. The results provide a blueprint for what you might expect to see in many more places. Proposition 22 in California was voted on. A majority of the voters approved of new rules that allow companies like Uber and Lyft to continue operating with drivers as independent contractors. Other notable startup-y items from our election coverage includes cannabis legalization measures set to pass in 5 states. Portland, Maine passes referendum banning facial surveillance. Massachusetts voters pass a right to repair measure giving them unprecedented access to their car data. Calm's hilarious CNN ad campaign sent the meditation app flying up App Store charts. And Voting Works, which is a nonprofit, wants to rebuild trust in election systems through open source. Something else happened in government this week that was not about the election, but may still be relevant to startups. The SEC will now let companies raise up to $5 million per year in equity crowdfunding, up from the previous rule of $1,070,000. And don't forget, the 10K Project is applying to be an equity crowdfunding portal. We are not approved at this time. We are still in the application process, but this is what we are applying for Black businesses. The world is changing, my people. And in the words of T. Harv Eker and his 1990s recording, Speed Wealth, he said, every time there is a change in the law, somebody gets rich. So how about you? Can you take advantage of these opportunities? Banks aim to increase Black home ownership, but is it enough? In an encouraging series of moves for the housing market, several different banks have introduced programs in recent months that aim to make it easier for Black Americans to buy their first home. It's an important development given the level of racial inequality in the US, with Blacks notably lagging behind other groups when it comes to home ownership rates. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and others are expanding existing programs that aim to help boost minority home ownership. The home ownership rates for Blacks is currently close to historic lows. In the first quarter of this year, just 44% of Black families own their home versus 73.7% of white families, according to the Census Bureau. The homeownership gap between Blacks and whites has unfortunately widened since the Great Recession, while during the same period, homeownership rates for whites, Latinos, and Asian Americans have all increased. The National Association of Real Estate Brokers Executive Director Antoine Thompson said that adding more diversity to the banking and real estate industries would help to increase home ownership rates among Black Americans. Thompson said, the fact is we need more Black loan officers, more Black underwriters, and more Black appraisers to effectively deal with the issues of bias in the industry. And today is Monday. Every Monday is Money Monday, and we talk about an investment concept that can help you. Today, we're answering the question, what is hedging? Sometimes people talk about hedging as a form of insurance for an investment. So you can think of the expression, hedge your bets. A perfect hedge would take 100% of the risk out of a portfolio. But in the real world, that's more of an ideal than something that can actually be achieved. One of the ways that people go about hedging is buying something called derivatives, which are investments designed to balance risk. An investor might put some of their investment into derivatives to balance out the risk of their portfolio. Hermonic.com suggests if you are concerned about your level of risk, you should talk to your financial advisor and get some suggestions from him or her. So that's today's podcast. We'd love to hear your comments about today's topics. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend or two about Black Money Daily.